Now let's get on to the CLA sedan, which for some time now I have been saying, sticking my neck out in fact and saying, is possibly the best looking Mercedes-Benz on the road today in the current portfolio. Now Bala spent some time with the car in Goa. The Audi A3 gets some competition in our market now. Let's take a look at all the details.
It looks stunning, and in red it is guaranteed to turn heads. Say hello to the gorgeous new Mercedes-Benz CLA class.
Now you can call this an A-Class with a boot or the smaller version of the CLS, but the CLA won't mind that tag because both of them are very, very attractive cars, but the CLA still manages to hold its own with its attractive design as a sedan. But from the front, there's a lot of reminiscence of the A-Class, especially the grille in front, the front bumper. You've got these bi-xenon headlamps with the daytime running lights. But from the side, it looks very, very attractive with these three lines, giving it a lot more muscular appeal really. You've got the sloping roof line, although the rear passenger is going to feel a little cramped, at least from the outside. It looks very, very cramped on the inside. But overall, the aerodynamic shape really means that there could be lots of reduced drag and making the CLA a lot more fun car to drive with the reduced drag.
Even the attractive Audi A3 doesn't seem to have that flair that the CLA offers in its design. Even the rear doesn't look too stubby with the swooping all-LED tail lamps. The 17-inch alloys also add to the sporty character. The car's wheelbase is slightly longer than the A3's too, at 2,699 mm.
Now when Mercedes-Benz decided to offer the CLA in one petrol, the CLA 200, as well as one diesel, the CLA 200 CDI, I was frankly quite disappointed given that they have fairly more powerful engines in their global portfolio of the CLA. But the diesel engine that we're driving right now doesn't disappoint to be honest, because it's quite peppy. There's lots of torque. And it feels fairly refined, isn't too noisy at all, even if you rev it up at high speeds.
The 2.1-litre turbocharged diesel churns out 134 bhp and 300 Nm of torque with the familiar 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, while the 2-litre petrol engine is peppy at 181 bhp and 300 Nm of torque. The engine lineup is the same as what you get on the recently launched GLA, which shares the same platform. The petrol is the car if you want a sporty performance, while the diesel is good for cruising. In fact, while there is a hint of turbo lag on the diesel, on a highway it really opens up and it cruises with great ease. And you do get the 3 driving modes, economy, sport and manual, with paddle shift adding to the fun. The front-wheel drive CLA handles fairly well and it manages to hold its line around corners. The steering isn't the most responsive though, and it feels a bit heavy, which lets down what is otherwise a taut setup.
Now, one of the reasons that has put a big smile on my face while driving the CLA is the suspension. The ride quality is very, very impressive. The suspension is really, really nice because you do expect that, given the sporty character, that you would have a little bit of a stiff suspension, but that's not the case on the CLA at all. Even while going over speed breakers like this one, or even on large potholes, the suspension really takes it in very well without crashing in, and that will please a lot of buyers in the Indian market.
Get inside the CLA and the cabin is all too familiar, so you definitely know that it's related to the A and GLA class. Jet propeller air vents, sporty twin tube dials in the instruments, and while the plastics used inside the cabin are pretty good, they're not quite top drawer as is expected from Mercedes-Benz, especially this rather hard plastic used around the dash. The Command infotainment system is the latest iteration, which is good with a better interface like on the C-Class, navigation, a panoramic sunroof, sporty race-style seats and frameless doors round off what is a fairly stylish cabin overall.
Now, as expected, the rear seats of the CLA does feel quite cramped. The sloping roofline doesn't really help matters. I'm about 5'9", and as you can see, there's very little headroom. And what makes things worse is the smaller window that really doesn't make things better, because you do feel a little claustrophobic.
And that is where the A3 does score. The boot though is quite generous at 470 litres, but do factor in the spare wheel. The rear seats do split fold 60-40, giving you some extra cargo space.
Now, Mercedes-Benz says that ever since the CLA was launched globally in April 2013, it has so far sold over 100,000 units, especially in Europe and in the US. Here's the interesting bit. 80% of the customers in the US were new to the Mercedes-Benz family, first-time customers, and that's the kind of success that they hope to replicate with the CLA here in India, which is why this is expected to be a volume driver, and you see that decision of assembling this car here in India. Now, initially though, at the time of launch, it will be imported as a CBU, but later down the line, as soon as the expanded plant comes up, this will be assembled here at the Pune facility.
So yeah, all eyes will now be on the CLA and indeed this segment when it launches later this month. Expect Mercedes-Benz to stay pretty aggressive with the pricing, which we think should start around 28 lakh rupees. So a fun start to the year as the German 3 begin a new battle for pole position this year in the Indian market.